Always a pleasure to be joined now here on GCR by, of course, the former manager of the Baltimore Orioles, a man you see on MLB Network. He is our friend Buck Showalter, and he's back with us on the program. Buck, all right, so I need to get this straight because you and I were talking before we started recording here. You tell me that Marylanders have a swearing
Okay.
problem?
Let me go back. Okay, I wasn't looking for. I was just sitting. I was waiting for you to call, and I saw a headline. I go, oh, I wonder who is the state that swears the most. I was quite frankly thinking it'd be New York or who knows. And it pops up Maryland number one. Basically, they're taking a bunch of tweets, like 1.7 million, and just going through which one of them used the most. It's not a really scientific thing, but I kind of went, really?
My mind is genuinely blown by this. Like the people,
Yeah.
I've been to Massachusetts, Buck. Like they swear quite a bit there. It's 60. So I've got this statistic that you pulled up. It is 66, the number of swear words per 1,000 online messages on Twitter. Maryland, not just number one with a bullet at
Yeah. Well,
66.3.
hey, let's put it this way: they're ahead of Louisiana.
What? Okay, now I got to ask the question.
Uh-oh.
How much of a swearer are you in the dugout, in your conversations with umpires?
Uh, Maybe a little more than I'd like to be. It's funny. It's through my mother. Um, I got to tell you, Glenn, every Sunday in Baltimore when she was still with us, I would call her. She knew it was coming after a day game. I'd put the phone on the dashboard, and the half-hour ride home or whatever it was, I would listen to her, and we would talk. And I miss those times. I'd do anything to be able to talk. But one day she did tell me, she says, I can read lips. And I got to tell you, it really, after that, it really lessened a lot. And I realized that there's other ways to express yourself. But,
Without that's pretty. It's great.
I'm usually good about it unless the umpire goes there. Once he goes there, then, you know.
Okay, but wait. Now we have to ask the appropriate question. If you're the manager of the Orioles, do you have an obligation to swear more in order to honor the legacy of Earl Weaver?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think you got to you got to be yourself, because I'm gonna tell you, you want to lose a clubhouse. Try to be something you're not. I
Yeah.
mean, baseball can sniff out a phony in a heartbeat, especially players, because you're around each other so much day to day, and sometimes 15 hours a day for 7 straight days, and it just doesn't play. I mean, trying to be something you're not doesn't play.
I want to talk about that a little bit, Buck, because look, the Orioles, we know, and you're going to remind me, they're a really good baseball team, and they are right in the middle of things, and that's what it. But they have been playing 500 baseball for the better part of 2 months, and it allows frustrations to come out. And you and I have talked about Brandon Hyde before, and I'm not like a Brandon Hyde apologist. I just think that he's done a good job. That's what I think. I think
Yeah, I do too.
we overanalyze small things, or we want someone to be demonstrative. What you just said there is really interesting to me because, like, we saw it this week. Corbin Burns was screaming at the home plate umpire in New York, and Orioles fans were like, hey, why isn't Brandon Hyde the one doing that? And I think what you just said is really interesting, that you can't fake that. You can't be like that. That wouldn't work for a baseball team.
Well, and not in today's world. It used to be that umpires kind of knew that their interaction with coaches and managers and players, mostly managers, was kind of part of the entertainment package. And they all had a little stick, the umpires, and they'd let you go. But now, with instant replay and so many things like that, personal part of it's kind of, I don't, it's probably not as quite entertaining a game, but I understand the reason why they tried to eliminate a lot of it. But, I told players before, I remember when Manny first came up, we had a meeting about, I said, listen, and I had told Manny this, we'll back you on anything,
Mm-hmm.
and publicly, but privately, there's nothing. And I told Manny, and we had a team meeting about it, that there's nothing worse than a team going on a field and supporting somebody in an unjust cause. When you go out there and you go, just our guy's wrong. This is just wrong. We shouldn't be out here. And you can get somebody hurt on your team. I said, listen, just make sure it's a just cause, okay? it certainly makes everything feel a lot better, have a better taste in your mouth. But when you're out there and you know your teammate's wrong about what he's mad about,
Mm-hmm.
it's not. So I think, who knows? I'd have to look back on him. Maybe Brandon knew that this guy was wrong.
I don't know.
You know,
The strike zone was pretty
and
bad that night. It was pretty bad.
well, you go back on a lot of these umpires, and I got to tell you, it's amazing to me that they're as accurate as they are.
Yeah.
It really is. I look back through it with pure eyes sometime, and I go, you know what? I would have wanted that pitch. It was borderline. There's probably 20, 30 pitches a game where they can call it either way and not get penalized either way on the grading scale. So you just want your fair share of those borderline calls.
I feel like there's a percentage of baseball fans that just when things aren't going great, they want the performative aspect of it. They want theatrics for the sake of theatrics. They want to hear about the manager throwing bats around in the clubhouse or something.
Or they want somebody sharing their frustration.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm frustrated. Why aren't you? There's so many things, Glenn, that go on in a clubhouse behind the scenes that you can't talk about publicly that affect things that go on day to day. And your job description as a manager is, in a lot of cases, just to wear it. You wear a lot of things, so you could say something that might make you look different publicly in a positive way, but you can't do it because there's a certain, honor that you have to and respect you have to give people about when they tell you certain things that they don't want the whole world to know about. So, Brandon knows what he's doing, and there's a ebb and flow. Why are fans upset at playing 500? Because they were playing 700 plus baseball.
Right.
And somewhere in between, everybody's going to seek their level. Baseball's got too many games. They got 42 games left. You're going to seek your level. And, they've fought through a lot of injuries that a lot of clubs, especially from the starting pitching, would not have survived. And they have survived it, and they're right there with the Yankees, and the Orioles fans are going to have a lot of fun in September.
Buck Showalter with us here on GCR. Buck, is it as simple as, we saw what happened with the Rangers a year ago, that none of this, all the things that you want to feel like you're a good baseball team, do we now know it really is just as simple as get in and whatever happens, happens?
You know what plays a lot, I think people miss, is that in the postseason, if a hitter's on top of his game and a pitcher's on top of his game, the pitcher wins. So this home field advantage of playing games at home, if the pitcher from the other team is on top of his game and really good, it quietens everybody. I mean, the home field advantage goes away. So yeah, there's a lot to that. That just get there and get your foot in the door. Yeah, you'd like to play at home. You don't want to have to travel, but I'm not sure that having home field advantages means as much in baseball as it does in other sports.
Is there something to be made that it is more troubling that a team on August 22nd doesn't have a closer? Can you win a World Series when you got a month left in the season and you don't have a closer on your team?
Who's the closer for the Rangers last year? Quick.
Yeah, it was Leclerc, right?
Yeah. Well, but he wasn't at times during the year. He wasn't.
That's true.
And I don't know. It makes it more difficult. I mean, there's nothing that can wear at a team more than how much is enough mentality. Like, geez, how much? I may remember one of the runs make leads matter, and you grind all day long, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's still the hardest inning to pitch because there's a certain finality about it, and people are giving you their best shot. So, in a perfect world, somebody might emerge that has changed roles. It might be a starting pitcher once they get these guys back that all of a sudden starts doing that role. But, you trust some of the pedigree of guys who've done it in the past, but at the same time, at an age, there's an old saying, never let a star fall on you.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse for a manager when you have a quality, a guy who's had a great career, but it's just not there anymore. That's one of the probably the hardest things about my job through the years was, I remember when Paul Merrill was at the end of his career in Texas, and I could name 10 other guys, and you're trying to be respectful, but they just can't do it anymore. And it's hard. It's hard.
I actually quote you on that, the "Don't let the star fall on you" kind of regularly, Buck. In fact, the column I wrote this week, I referenced that, and I brought it up in the context of I don't know if you're not at the point with Craig Kimbrell where it's not just that he's not the closer, it's that is there a role for him at this point? And that's got to be I can't even imagine the difficulty of dealing with that. Are you really watching someone that's just at the end of their rope of even being able to get major league pitchers out? Or major league hitters, sorry.
I'm not close enough to it. I don't watch him throw every day and know all the things that Brandon and his people know. So I'll leave it to them. But we certainly know that he's capable of it in the past, and at times this year it just hasn't been very consistent.
Yeah, it's been rough. It's the walks too, right? Like you can live with a home run every now and then. And tell me if I'm wrong, Buck. Like I feel like you can make peace with a guy battling, throwing a pitch, it gets turned the other way. It's the free bases. I feel like that's the part where you really start to question someone.
Well, that's the top step, full pack. Was it Stenhouse? Is that the guy with Earl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's okay if it ends well. I got to tell you, it's not okay. That was what was so great. I used to kid Joe Torre about it. What was great through all those years is that Mario Rivera, there was no stress in the ninth inning. It was bing, bang, boom. Here strikes are being thrown, and it's not painful to get there. And I tell you, the year that Edwin Diaz had for us in New York with the Mets, that was it. Just gave us such a great mentality to win 100+ games because this guy just, there was no stress in the ninth inning on the road, big 40,000 people in Atlanta, and he'd go throw 10 pitches and you're on the bus going home.
Let me go back a second and then I want to touch on two other big baseball topics with you. I don't think that it makes sense for a manager to be performative or theatric for the sake of it. But is there a point in which you have to address it somehow? Do you just say, hey, it's baseball, it's game after game, or do you have to have a meeting, have a sit down, and talk it out, something along those lines?
Well, Glenn, how do you know that hasn't happened?
I don't, and it's very fair.
Do you come out and go, hey, I just want all the media and everybody to know I just had a meeting and I screamed at everybody. I want you to know about that. Well, that's, you're certainly not going to do that. I mean, but it's got to be what you really feel. I mean, you know what these guys are going through. Okay, are they playing hard? Are they playing fundamentally sound? Are they scuffling some because a lot of the people are hurt and you've got a different level of performers on the field? I mean, you got to look at things realistically, but I think nobody understands the frustration of the fans there more. But think about what you're frustrated about because you've been so good for so long, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. Oh my gosh! When I heard you say we've been playing 500, you know how many people would trade with you in heartbeat?
Oh, we spent a lot of years in Baltimore dreaming of 500, Buck. You know that.
I know. Trail me when I first got there. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
It seems like a distant star.
You shut up for a month and we were ready to build a statue of you in Baltimore because of everything that we had going.
No, hey, Nicky Markakis and Terry Crowley are going to the Baltimore Hall of Fame this weekend.
Cool. Let's talk about Nick just for a second because Nick doesn't allow himself to be the most celebrated guy, right? Like it's just not who he is. And
That's him.
Yep, guys being who they are.
I texted him. I said, hey, congratulations. I said, I'm going to be in town. What I'd love to do is slip in the back of the room right before they speak and then slip out just as they get done, just to see it. But Nick's the type of guy that players love him, great teammate, played the game right, just never a look at me mentality, just about winning. And he was special. He was a guy we built a lot of things around. I remember when John Hart called me in Atlanta about signing him. I said, if you want to give these guys a direction about how to play the game right. And they still talk in Atlanta about the impact that he had on all their young players there.
It's crazy to me how close he really is to having a Hall of Fame career. It really is not that far off. But the word that comes to mind to me is just stalwart, right? Like you just knew what you were getting every time. There's so many great
Nick Markakis stories that people don't even talk about. He had every spring I would take infield outfield the very first day of spring to kind of deliver a little message and new guys coming in, we're like, wow, we're doing this the first day. And Nick and Adam and everybody knew what was going on. So, and Nick had a shoulder issue, and he had to really watch. It's one of the reasons why he had to quit pitching. But he would air it out the first day, one hop everything, right on the button. And he would go, boys, there it is. I'm done for the year. And he would show all these young guys and first-year players what it meant to take infield, outfield for and work. And but Nicky always worked hard at everything else. But he knew he had so many bullets in his arm.
What about
he was like E.F. Hutton, little things he would say that he would pick his spots. He knew how much weight his words carried, and he was very careful about it.
What about Crow? What I know that he was obviously still around when you got here. Like what did he mean to you?
Terry just he was a great confidant, and I got to tell you, there'd be somebody in Bowie or Norfolk or Frederick, and I go, hey, Crow, can you go over and look at this guy and tell him what you think? And he would come back with pure eyes, just honest, crisp. Hey, here's what I see. He's not going to, pop his gums and try to show you how smart he is. He had a nice, calm way about him. He had a way of visually seeing the game and knowing that what was good for Nicky Markakis may not be good for Adam Jones. And it was more than just, stats or analytics. I remember him saying, this guy will get a hit off a good pitcher late in the game. And I always remember when he would say that about somebody. This guy, you don't want him around when your finger's on the trigger, so to speak. He had little ways of saying things but Crow had great eyes. He had a great feel, FEEL for the non-analytical. All the part of it, he got to.
Buck, I want to wind down if I could. That there's one thing that jumped out at me last week. That was this story from ESPN that Major League Baseball is thinking about re-emphasizing starting pitching by making there be a 6-inning mandatory or 6-inning minimum for starting pitchers. Other than getting your brains beat in or 100 pitches or something like that. And it sounds like a good idea, but then I don't know. It seems forced to me when you say it that way. Like, really, a guy that's at 97 pitches in the 6th inning is going to be forced to finish that inning? I don't. That feels fake. That doesn't feel real. What was your reaction to it?
Same as you.
Yeah.
I kind of go, okay, that's interesting. Let me look at that. And then you start seeing all the offshoots. I always talk about the arteries of decisions with people. Okay, yeah, we can do this. Well, if we did this, who's affected by it? Where are the fallout in different areas that may come back to haunt us? What are we going to develop on the other side? I heard something interesting today. There's so many more Tommy John surgeries now because it's not the risk it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember that nobody wanted to ever have surgery back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you fought it until you learned how to throw a sinker. You learned how to throw a knuckleball. You learned something different because the last thing you wanted was to go under the knife. And now it's pretty much a recovery. You're able to make it back. Sometimes they have 2 of them before and still make it back. That used to be a no-no. But I heard a good one from Scherzer, and that they kind of went with it, that if your starter doesn't make it through the 5th or 6th inning or something, you lose the DH.
So with the double hook, right? Yeah.
If you take him out in the 3rd inning, you lose your DH from that point forward. That's interesting.
You'd be okay with that one?
I didn't say okay. I said I'd like to see it in the minor league.
Yeah, I guess the tough part for me, Buck, is I just don't really want to sign up for any scenario where I see more pitchers hitting at this point, right?
I agree. Well, you don't have to be pitchers. You can pinch hit the rest of the way. But I personally would go back to 11 or 12 pitchers. I think you would have a different type of pitcher. We had a guy named T.J. McFarland who's still pitching the big leagues. Yeah. And when I say he was one of the most valuable guys on our team back in those years, TJ would take the ball in the 3rd inning when somebody would spit the bit, and he would give you 4 innings. And the next day, he just sunk it, threw it over, worked fast, and he was so valuable on our club. You come in and go, hey, TJ, so-and-so just blew his shoe warming up. You're going to start in 15 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, let me get my spikes on. Those guys are invaluable, but you could get back to those guys. I mean, the Rule 5 draft through the years, you're lucky if you get an Anthony Santander, but for the most part, they are 12 pitchers, long relievers. They are left-on-left guys maybe. They are utility infielders. They are backup catchers and 5th outfielders.
Yep.
And that's very valuable on a team.
Yep.
And they're out there if you know what you're looking for. But the more they take scouts away, the harder it is to find. But he I don't know. I'm a little scared about getting too artificial with it. You know, it's like the big bags, the pizza boxes. Do you think that's really affected stolen bases? You know, it's affected stolen bases. The fact that pitchers can't hold runners anymore.
Yeah.
Because you can't hold the ball. I mean, these runners are taking off on the clock. They're not stealing. You know, these poor catchers, everybody thinks they can't throw. Well, heck, the guys are halfway to second when they get the ball.
Right. It's hopeless. No, it's utterly hopeless. I agree. And
You got people stealing second base that got no business stealing second base. Catchers are stealing them, and everybody's acting them like. To me, it's like the home run that's hit off the backup catcher in a 15-2 game. Everybody goes, okay, you had a home run off the backup catcher. Now, anybody can steal a base. It's kind of taken away. You many bases Ricky Henderson would have stolen a year with these rules?
250 maybe. Like every time he was on base. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So it's kind of I look at stolen bases differently now, and I really feel sorry for the catchers.
I get it. All right. I know you're a sports fan. Are you an Olympics guy, Buck?
Yeah, I watch certain events. Some of them I shy away from. Not that in particular. I didn't grow up, synchronized swimming.
I thought you'd be able to break that down for me.
No.
What do you? I am intrigued by the idea. I was talking to Corbin Burns about it the other day because it's easy for all the hitters to come out and say, like, we want to play in the Olympics. Sure. Like, for the pitchers, it's far more relevant what that would look like. I'm intrigued by the idea. It just feels like it requires an amount of capitulation one way or the other that I just don't think is going to prove to be practical to allow pitchers to be throwing extra innings in something that isn't Major League Baseball.
Well, you're talking to a guy that lost his closer.
In the World Baseball Classic. Right.
Yeah. I can remember like yesterday getting a call from Brandon Nemo that, are you watching this?
Mm-hmm.
We just lost Edwin. But I think it's going to be a real challenge to get people to pitch competitively and not have something come off of it. It depends on the importance you put on it. I mean, you got these contracts and things that are going on with pitchers and, I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to put together. I really do. The pitching, like you said, is going to be the biggest issue. Unless they just do it, they just say, listen, we're going to play a 120-game season next year, and we're going to play this in March.
And I just don't see the teams giving up dates. I don't see it I don't see that happening. And the one other one too, like maybe Buck, could you make a massive roster for the Olympics and limit it to a starter can go 5 innings?
Well, there's one way around it. You just do it from the college ranks.
Right. Sure. But I get the value.
I don't think Japan's going to do that, do you?
No, not a chance in hell. And I feel like I get the value of, we know that Bryce Harper's a major baseball star, but I see what they're seeing is we can make him an international star. The Olympics is a different audience than a baseball audience, and we want a piece of that. I just don't know that it's practical. All right, I've kept you.
I just saw online that Simone Biles, is that how you say her last name?
Simone Biles.
She's doing a exhibition in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about going. It's amazing.
She's unbelievable.
Watching her.
Oh my gosh, she's incredible. And Buck, that's where you and I'm not a gymnastics person. Judging sports are not for me. Because it's just tough. Like, I want to see a race. I want to see who wins. I want to see who scored the most points. Judging sports are tough. But man,
I've gone to a monster truck show with my grandson. Now that's a different audience. I'm open.
I would like to one day go film you watching a monster truck show. I would like to make that.
You know what? It was 60,000, 70,000 people at Cowboy Stadium, and I looked around and went, "Oh my God,
that's cool."
It's like wrestling. It's like wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, man.
What's your favorite event? What's your favorite event at the Olympics that you enjoyed watching?
So I'm so glad you asked that. I fall in love with volleyball every time. I've done some volleyball play-by-play, but not like a lot. I've worked for USA Volleyball a little bit, doing the beach volleyball. Every time we get back to the Olympics and you watch, it's insanity. Every point is incredibly high level. I love volleyball in the Olympics, Buck. It's my favorite thing. And then this year I was enamored with the rugby. Like, the rugby at the Olympics was so cool to me. I was glued. I was captivated by it. And I forget how much I like water polo too. I'm into the team sports, I think is what it is.
I wanted a clock with the Orioles that would help guys with their timing.
Okay.
So the only play, and I had to make it waterproof. And I got to thinking, I said, well, we got a clock from a water polo team that if it started raining in the workout, it wouldn't short out. And we just set it up, and it had a beeper on it. In other words, we wanted to say that every play was with a runner going 4-3 down the line.
Got it.
The guys knew. So it helped, especially a lot of the Latin kids and the young Americans, their clock, they were too fast or too slow, but some way to help them get a visual of how much time they really had. So we got a water polo clock to do it, and it was a big hit.
That's awesome.
Don't tell anybody that.
Awesome. Buck, I don't.
I was going to ask you. You know what I got off watching?
What?
I really am into women's college basketball.
Okay.
I love the way they play.
Sure.
It's unselfish. They don't play above the rim. They shoot. They play defense. They play with great effort on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're well coached. It's just I really enjoyed. I went to Mississippi State, and for years we had one of the best programs in the country, but we lost a coach and some other things, but it's fun for me to watch. I love watching Caitlin Clark play.
Wholeheartedly agree. We're Angel Reese people in Baltimore because she's from here, and so
I saw that the other day.
We love her, and I'm in complete agreement. Every possession matters. It's an awesome product. I mean, it is really, really compelling. I literally kept you for a half an hour. I'm sorry, Buck. I love you, man. I've
got time.
All
okay.
Right. I know.
Everybody acts like they're so busy, and oh my God, I'm not really. And once I leave here and go back to work, just enough to stay married and get out of the house,
Jeez. Oh, you're on TV next week, right? Did you told me that?
I'm leaving Friday, and then I'm up there for about four nights.
Excellent. Buck Showalter.
Beautiful Secaucus, New Jersey.
Oh, don't they say that everybody needs to see Secaucus in the summer? Isn't that what I think I read that somewhere?
They say a few other things.
They're going to take over the curse word record before it's all said and done. Buck, you're the best.
Wow.
Appreciate you.
Thank
you.
All right. I'll take care. Thanks for having me.